All right, not everyone is going to have a great cerebellum to study off of for this section. So I picked one that was pretty decent. The thing about the cerebellum is that when we remove the brains from the cadavers, you oftentimes get cut marks, and it can make identifying some of the structures, especially the fissures, difficult if not impossible. The primary fissure is best seen on from a superior view, and you can see the primary fissure pretty well on this specimen, but it is also seen very well when you look at the half brain. When you're looking at the half brain and you can see the cerebellum has a mid-sagittal cut, the primary fissure can be seen here, separating the anterior from the posterior lobes. And here's the floccular nodular lobe here on the half brain. When you have the cerebellum removed, you can appreciate some features from the external aspect, even with the brainstem still intact. You can see from an inferior view the tonsils and their close approximation with the brainstem, and you can also see that you can see the tonsils from an anterior or ventral view as well. They're important for herniation syndromes. Also, above the tonsils on the ventral side, you can see the flocculi. There's one on each side, and they're part of the floccular nodule lobe. The nodule you can't see in the specimen because the brainstem is still attached. The vermis is the midline portion of the cerebellum. Okay, you can see here. So now I'm going to go ahead and cut off the brainstem so that we can appreciate some other features. I'm going to use a scalpel to cut. First I'm going to cut this down a little so I can see. You can see the midbrain clearer now. I'm going to cut the middle cerebellar peduncle. And the superior one. Inferior one here. I lucked out with this because the spinal cord was also still intact. So from this cut, you can see how the superior cerebellar peduncles come down from the midbrain. The middle cerebellar peduncle comes from the pons area of the brainstem, and the inferior cerebellar peduncle comes up from the medulla. And so they're cut off the brainstem on this specimen. So I kind of did that on purpose here for you so that you can appreciate the positioning of each of these peduncles. Now I'm going to cut the inferior ones a little more here. So that you can appreciate the positioning of, here are the tonsils. So this is the ventral surface of the cerebellum. Here are the tonsils. Superior to the tonsils you have the flocculi, and between here in the midline you have the nodule. Okay, so nodule, flocculi, tonsils. Then as you move down, if you want to tilt the cerebellum to a slightly more inferior view, you can see the uvula here that sits on top here of the pyramid, or next to the pyramid. So those are uvula, nodule, the flocculi, and the tonsils. Inferior cerebellar peduncles, middle cerebellar peduncles, and this is the inferior part of the superior cerebellar peduncles as they came downward from the midbrain. And here you can see the vermis, and it wraps all the way around. So let's see, and then the lateral hemispheres, and as you're looking down from superior, you have the anterior lobes, and the posterior lobes extend onto the inferior surface of the cerebellum.